Well, good morning or good afternoon or whenever you might happen to be watching this. I decided to stay inside today. It's a little chilly here in West Virginia today, and I decided it was better to just stay in and stay warm. But I've been reading through the book of 1 Corinthians, I've told you that, and today I came to the 11th chapter, and in that 11th chapter, I came to a verse that reminded me of something that happened in the skating world. Back in 2014 during the Olympics, the Russian skater beat the reigning champion, and most people felt like she didn't do as good a program, that she didn't deserve to do it. The Russian skater, as soon as she came off the ice, came straight into the arms of the Russian judge, who embraced her. And everybody's jaw just hit the floor thinking, how in the world can this Russian judge have such a connection and such a bias to this skater and still be allowed to be a judge? And the truth was, his scores had been much higher for the Russian skater than anybody else. And so his bias was not only clear in the embrace that he was giving the Russian skater, but it was clear in his scoring as well. And people were upset about it. It was, the commentators were talking about it, and everybody was upset about it, and rightly so. It was a clear, blatant injustice, if you will. But I got to thinking about that, and I thought about, in some ways we're all kind of guilty of the same thing. We tend to, maybe not so much with other people, but we tend to cut ourselves a break. We tend to cut ourselves slack when we don't cut other people slack. We tend to make excuses for ourselves as to why it's okay that we did that, or why it's okay for us to do that, or why somebody should ignore the faults in our life and the mistakes that we've made in our life, but we're not willing to cut other people a break for the mistakes that they've made in their life, or the weaknesses in their lives and the things that they do. The Bible tells us that sort of a judgmental attitude that cuts ourselves a break isn't really pleasing to God, and just puts us in a situation where we are in danger of judgment. In fact, he tells us if we want to avoid judgment, we need to become our own worst critics. We need to become the ones that address the things in our life that need to be addressed. It tells us over in 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 31, says, "But if we would examine ourselves, we would not be judged by God in this way." That came after a warning where God said that he had brought judgment upon people who had eaten and drunk unworthily of the Lord in the Lord's Supper. You see, there was a big controversy in the Corinthian church about people that were coming to the Lord's Supper with anger in their hearts towards a brother or sister. They were coming with pride. They were bringing these big meals and not sharing it. They were just doing all sorts of things that was designed to put others down and elevate themselves, to build themselves up. And Paul said, because of this attitude, because of this unconfessed sin, because of this unrealized sin, because of this sin that you just allow to perpetuate in the church, he said, there's some that are sick among you. God has brought judgment against them, and they're sick among you. And he said, there's even some that have died. And he said, if you want to avoid this, judge yourselves. He said, don't come and partake of the Lord's Supper. Don't come partake of communion service in an unworthy fashion. In other words, in a way that makes mockery of the sacrifice of the Lord. But he said, instead, judge yourself. And if you'll judge yourself, you can avoid God's judgment. So we need to be our own worst judges. We need to be our own worst critics. We need to be the ones that say, look, I know I've got this problem. I know I've got this sin, and God help me to deal with it and address it and be upfront with it. Well, man, I can't believe it, but we've blown through almost 5 minutes already. The challenge to you is this: don't be that judge that cuts your own self slack and condemns everybody else. Instead, reverse that. Understand that you're not perfect. You shouldn't expect them to be perfect either. Don't just cut yourself slack by saying, well, they know I'm not perfect. Look at the areas in your life that you need to address and be willing to address them. Time is gone. If you enjoyed this today, I hope you'll share it with somebody, and I will see you tomorrow. God bless you. Have a great day. Bye.